Hello, my name is Michael Green, Microsoft Certified Trainer for almost 30 years, and I'd like to talk to you about the pros and cons of pivot tables. So let's get started. All right, here's our raw data. We have city and region and sales and hours worked. And I've created a pivot table over here, so hopefully you know a little bit about pivot tables. And I'm tracking the cities, and we have all the cities listed here. And I have the sum of sales, and we can see here that Dallas is the best-selling city. But I wonder if Dallas is truly the best-selling city. So what I can do is I can come over here to the right, and here's sales, and I can right-click on sales, and I can choose add to values. All right, that adds another copy of sales. And actually, I'm going to do that a few more times. Okay, I've added copies of sales 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, and I've actually changed the titles to what I want to do. I have count of sales, average of sales, percent of grand total, difference, running total, and a rank. And I'll show you some of the things that we can do here. So is Dallas truly the best city? So let's find out. So what I can do is I can right click on one of these numbers and right click and go into summarize values by. And here I'm going to choose count. And you can see that this is 4, so Dallas might have best because they have more people. All right. Now, what's the average sales? So I can right click and come down here to summarize values by again, and this time I'll choose average and then change by going to number format and choose currency and click OK. And we can see that Seattle and Milwaukee are better than Dallas in terms of average. Now, I could also show things in terms of not just pure numbers. So this is called the percent of grand total. So I right click and I come into this called show value as. And I'm going to choose percent of grand total. That's the first one. And I choose that. And that shows percentages. All right, and then this one is the difference of, so let's say they move from city to city, what's the changes or the deltas? So I right click here and I go into show value as, and this is in the middle, this is called difference from. Now with difference from, you have to make sure you choose your base field, which is the category that you're tracking, and your base item, you're going to change this to be previous. And then you click on OK, and it shows you the change from one to the other. Now, the running total is how you're accumulating from one to the other as you're stacking up your money to get to the grand total. So you right-click on that, and you go into Show Value As, and this is called Running Total In. Running Total In, and then you go ahead and click on OK, and it's stacking your money over time. And you could set your formats the way you want. And finally, this is the ranking. So you want to see who the gold, the silver, and the bronze medal winners are. So you can right-click, and you can choose Show Value As, and you could choose one of the last one here, Rank Largest to Smallest. And also click OK, and you can see that Dallas is the best-selling city. But this is based on sum. But if you want to base it on average, then you can right-click and you can choose Summarize Values By and change your base field to average. And now it's based on the average, all right? And now Milwaukee and Seattle are your best-selling cities. So overall, these are different things and pros that you can do in a pivot table. Okay, the cons of the pivot table include Like, let's say I'm trying to sort this pivot table. Now, right now it's by city alphabetically. Now, if I try to, let's say, like, take a look here. Here's sum of sales. Now, if I try to right click on one of the sum of sales and I come down here to sort and I try to sort, let's say, largest to smallest. Now, I'm getting this error message. See, it says auto sort can't be used with custom calculations that use positional references. Do you want to turn off auto sort, auto show? Okay. So even if I choose yes or no, it's not going to let me sort. See, if I have positional references, that includes things like differentials, okay? So I'd actually have to remove that, or running totals. I have to remove those type of calculations, and then I would be able to sort. I can't have those kind of fields in my pivot table, those calculations. Otherwise, I can't do any sorting. So that's one big con. You could do that in standard sorting, but you can't do that in pivot tables. Another con is if I change, let's say the data was wrong and I change, let's say Miami for Alice Owens to 191,000, and I go about my busy day. I don't realize that this is a wrong data point. I have to actually remember to right click and refresh. See, I could forget. Now, refreshing is like not a normal activity. So I actually have to remember to do that. So there's actually a fix for that. And the fix for that is you right click on the pivot table and you come down here to pivot table options. And in pivot table options, you would go to the data tab. Now, this is not normally checked, but there's a box here that says refresh data when opening the file, and you check that. And so all you got to do is remember, even if you forget, just close the file and reopen, and your data is going to be refreshed automatically. So that's a good fix for that. Now, notice over here that my data is actually a data table. See here it says table design. That means it's a data table. That's a good fix as well for a normal con. A normal con is if you add new records. Well, let's say you cut this pivot table and you moved it to another location in the file. You would actually have to always go to the pivot table, and you'd have to go to pivot table analyze and change the data source, right? And that's a real annoying feature to have to change the data source each and every time. But if you make it a data table like I've done already, that overcomes a huge con in pivot tables having to keep changing the data source. All right, so I highly recommend you set your data to be a data table. The minute you get your data dumps early on, set it to be a data table, and you'll overcome that huge con in pivot tables. If you happen to enjoy this video, consider liking and subscribing, as I have more videos planned in the future. Bye now.